just moving around a little bit. Don't mind me. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
Got it. Okay. And I think that means we're live right now, even though it's still loading on my end. So,
I didn't really
um,
share it on anything. I just figured I'd pop on.
yeah, that's fine. Let me,
I'm not really sure how to, anyways.
I am actually going to tag you right now.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but I think it, I think that means people can see it.
Yes. Oh, it took me somewhere new. Hi, everybody that's watching. Give us just a minute while we figure this out. Uh,
Uh,
let's see. Well, actually, maybe what I'll do is I will tag you afterwards then.
okay, no worries. I
Yeah.
figured we'd just play. I'm gonna give myself a little booster seat here.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get back to our screen. Hi,
Mm.
everybody. We wanted to just hop in. Carrie and I talk almost every day, and we'd love to kind of flow together. And so we don't like to plan a lot before things like this because our agenda gets in the way, at least for me, that's how it works. And so I like to just kind of, we're both very, tapped into the energies and what's happening right now. And when we get together, we tend to bring through just really amazing things. And we just wanted to kind of share that as a pre-Thanksgiving flow.
Well, we feel like they're pretty amazing.
We think we're, yeah, right. You guys might think we're just crazy, but we're just
Yeah,
going to go for it, right?
right?
So I was talking to Carrie just a minute ago about gratitude, and of course everyone's that's on their mind, because of Thanksgiving, but how powerful that is to shift our energy into a higher frequency, if you want to call it that, a higher timeline. And it sounds so simple, but it's profound. It's profoundly simple how
Right.
that shift can really help us to
Hmm.
begin to go into these other places.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
seems really easy, but I mean, it literally can take a split second just to bring us up just a little bit so that if we're feeling in that, for me, gratitude just brings me into more coherent, like more coherence. Like my
Mm,
space is just more balanced and it takes me out of whatever it is that I'm thinking about and it puts me into my heart a
mm.
little bit easy, a little bit more would
I
be
love
my.
that. Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I actually, on that note, Carrie and I talk about bliss a lot, like the bliss states, and they're not we've been told that bliss is like, ooh, like sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes it's actually really messy to be in this bliss state. But when people say, well, find your bliss, it's kind of like, well, what is that exactly? And so most people can make that step towards gratitude. And that's kind of like, I would say the first step
Mhm.
towards bliss, if you want to call it. What do you think, Carrie? Do you feel
I
like that?
love the fact that you're bringing up the bliss factor. I don't know if
Cool.
that's a thing. I'm calling it the bliss factor because I always thought, I was always kind of back. And I know Candace and I had talked about this before too, like the law of attraction stuff. And I always like, okay, I just have to be in that space, like you said, of sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes that's just not what it's about from my perspective. For me, it's like that process. And it's about just being a little bit in harmony, I guess. Harmony and understanding. Staying in that space of being in that space of gratitude can bring us into a place of just a little bit more harmony with our environment, with our bodies, with our thoughts. So
Mhm.
for me, bliss is more coherence. And it's interesting because I think Dan, like I bring up Dan Winter a lot, as you know. I'm like kind of I'm somebody years ago was like, have you ever watched Dan Winter? So for anybody watching, if you guys don't know who Dan Winter is, or if you haven't watched him, I highly encourage it for everybody because a lot of the writing that I was doing was in tune with what he talks about scientifically. And
Mm.
if you listen to what he talks about and also what heart math talks about, it is more of a space of coherence rather than being in this high sunshine and rainbows. Everything's fantastic, everything's wonderful. And by the way, that's not like a bad place to be, obviously. So if you're there, awesome. But then I think sometimes what happens is then when we're not there, we feel like something's wrong or we're not doing something right or something's off. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
So it's like not, I think when we're just in more that space of it's that sine wave, right? It's a flow. It's not high, it's not low. It's just kind of like, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And it's almost more gentle, I think. That's my perspective.
Yeah, like not attaching to wherever you're at. Like I feel like that is part of this wave you're talking about, is when I'm
Yeah.
not feeling great and I'm going through stuff in my body, not attaching and thinking that there's something wrong,
Yeah.
actually helps me stay in the flow of
Hmm.
moving into another space.
Yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
yeah.
And also, just taking a moment sometimes is really important. Like, let's say we're feeling kind of anxious, or we're feeling like we're just not in that space. And then when we stop, coming back to the gratitude portion, um, and we just stop and say, I'm really grateful right now for my breath. I'm really grateful that I have, food on my table. I'm really grateful for my friend or my mom or whoever it is, just really quick to bring that into our awareness. And then all of a sudden ask ourselves, how do I feel after expressing that? And generally speaking, we just feel better, even if it's like just a tiny little bit, because sometimes it's those tiny little bits. And when I say that, I always hear bits like information, right? Like that's when we open to more.
Yeah.
And that's when the downloads were, because we're in that space of like, just that little bit higher. And higher,
Mm,
I don't even like to use the word higher because I don't know if that's more
right.
expansive, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's a shift when I feel into it, but there's a shift that happens in my body from sympathetic, like running, constantly going, to like the parasympathetic the nervous system feeling calm. With gratitude or coherence, like you're talking about, brings me into that space a lot faster. And from that space is where I get all my downloads, actually,
Right,
most of the time, and so it's
right.
like it creates that opening.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like that. I don't know. Some people call it like, 'cause sometimes we get confused what 0 point is, what neutrality is, and what all of this, all of that, what's this? Well, what's that? And it's just kind of allowing ourselves to relax a little bit so that we can just find space for ourselves and not worry about any of that other stuff as well. Because I think when we're in a place of bliss, we're more maybe hemisync, like we're not just in our left brain analytical feeling, we're more just in that feeling creative. And like you said, we can be more in tune with what's coming in or
Mhm.
what's already there,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is big too. Because all of a sudden
Yeah.
we're like, oh, that's been there the whole time and I'm just now recognizing that. Okay.
Totally. I just got goosebumps everywhere. Just like the holographic universe that we live in. Oh, okay. Now I'm starting to see the reflection back to me. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then feeling gratitude for that.
Right. I know. Geez. Yeah.
Not like, how come I didn't see this before? But
Right.
feeling gratitude that we're seeing it now.
Right. Yep. Oh my God. And gratitude doesn't mean bypass it, or like that's such a big piece of this. Is like, oh, just people think of we're bypassing, by
Yeah.
not. You can, in fact, I feel like this is what we're being called to actually, is when we're struggling, that gratitude, we can hold both at the same time. And that's not
Yeah.
something that it's our ego wants to just attach to, mostly the pain a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
so really kind of broadening that and allowing ourselves to have both at the same time is like the work right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We can still be in a place of gratitude and still acknowledge that there are things that we're uncomfortable with or processing.
Yeah. Want to
And
change. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's part of more of, again, that coherence. Because if you look at it, it's not, it's finding that rhythm. It's not, we may not be completely in a blissed out, spacey type, we can, but see, that's one of the things that's valuable about it, I think, because as a human, part of what I think we're doing is experiencing, right? Otherwise, it's like we're able to experience the pain, if you want to call it that, or the discomfort, or coinciding with, or in the same reality with, in the same body as, in the same timeline as gratitude,
Ooh.
right? It's
I
like
like that.
interwoven in all things if we can find it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't know what you just shifted for me, but something,
I don't know
something
either because I
internal.
just got goosebumps. I'm like, ooh, I
Yeah.
feel like this is fun. We're going. So I'm seeing it. So when I say these, and we do this all the time, but for those, if anybody's watching and kind of tuning in, when we go into flow, I see pictures or I'll hear words or I'll get little, I call them mapping, like I'll ping into something, right? And so as we're talking about this, I just feel a space opens and all of this information, again, because we're kind of in this place of coherence, I guess, that just opens for all of these different, we could call it connections to gratitude and recognizing that it is not a separate thing from us. It is part of us because it's through our heart that we find that space of gratitude, which essentially brings us, I feel, into more compassion.
Mhm.
And that in itself is, we can have compassion for ourselves even when we're experiencing pain, or we can be grateful that, sometimes we're in that space where we're like, we're really uncomfortable. I don't like what I'm feeling, but I'm actually really grateful for what it's showing me right now. I mean, there's
Yes.
so many different
Yes.
trails we could follow on this, I
I
think.
know. Yeah, I'm actually opening up to when I talk to Carrie, I see pictures as well. So
Yeah.
I'm like opening up to see like maybe what wants to come in. So I wasn't really open to that before, but I'm just gonna set that intention now.
I love that.
If we want to flow in that
Oh, yeah,
direction
I didn't even
that
think
way.
about that. Oh, that would be
Yeah.
fun.
If it feels good to you, but I'm just like setting that intention now to just allow any messages that want to come in
Yeah. And I think
around.
it might be kind of fun to talk about that
Okay.
step, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yes, and
Like, what's the difference? Weren't we just in
uh,
flow, but we were,
oh,
right?
let's talk about that. Yeah. Well, I'll just speak for me. I was still just a minute ago was still operating here
Hmm.
more. And when I stepped back and went, oh, wait a minute, coherence, my process is I do have to set an intention and then there's a space that actually opens. I can't really describe it other than that. What about
Yeah.
you, Carrie? What is that like for you?
Same thing. I was thinking, as we're talking about it and analytically, I'm analyzing, ooh, how does that feel? What does that look like for me? What processes kind of open when I'm in a space of gratitude? And to me, that's all left brain.
Yeah.
But then when we're feeling into it and it's when we talk about things like this, what it does is it does open up that space for us to feel into what it is that we're sharing. But that's just one perspective. The other perspective is that when we speak about these things and we visualize them, we're then creating it from one perspective because we're manifesting in our bodies the similar feelings that are attached to that experience. If that makes
Mm.
sense, that's kind of what
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
seeing it as. So then we begin to experience, oh, what would it feel like to be, I am grateful for this. And just by going, oh, yeah, I am grateful for this, that's the logical side. All of a sudden, we're in the feeling side of feeling it. And
Right.
that can help us get into more of our right brain, but not even just our right brain. It's more of a coherence with the brain and the heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I guess that would be another way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, so the flow. Yeah. So when we go into flow, it's more of a feeling, don't you think? Rather
Oh yeah.
than, but I have a tendency to interpret what I'm flowing into sometimes, so I go back and forth a little bit.
You do. Yeah. You're the way your brain works is amazing like that. I think. I mean,
That's nice.
it is. It's like you're like amazing in that way. Mine comes in as like body sensations and feelings and images. And then from there, I can interpret kind of what the message is. So like when you were just speaking about gratitude and the shift from left to right, my whole tailbone was like on fire.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah. Okay.
And
This is important because some people don't recognize when they're getting
yeah,
like, well, what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do I know
right.
that I'm opening to this?
Yeah, but it starts with the intention. For me, I say an intention of I am now opening to deeper insight and information.
Mm-hmm.
So my higher self is online and then I'm on
Mm-hmm.
board as well. And then my body starts to get these like pings. And then so my tailbone is now like, there's a lot of sensation in that area. And now what is being shown to me right now is the snake somehow. So the Kundalini rising. So that could just be for me. I don't know. That could just be my own thing. But it does have to do something with the coherence, and then the word implosion is coming to mind right now.
Yes. Oh, let's talk about that. So again, Dan Winters, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so funny because earlier I was kind of pinging off spark. Like we're lighting the match, we're creating that spark, we're matching those frequencies. And then what happens is it literally zip lines up the line, up our spine, into that frequency, into that connectivity where everything lights up from one perspective. Yeah. And that could be a way that we feel. And then I feel more at ease, and almost like you just feel, and everybody's different, right? Some people feel more relaxed. Some people feel more energized. I go through both. I kind of do a little bit of everything. Sometimes I just feel super chill, and other times it's like zing, 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 depending on maybe how I'm feeling that day. Also depending on the energy that we're tapping into. So I just thought that was important because I have had people say, well, how do I know if I'm in flow? And sometimes I don't know. And all of a sudden I know, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Especially in the beginning, right? When I first started doing this, synchronicities too.
Yeah.
They'll just start popping up left and right. And you're like, wait a minute. Like, okay, I just wanted to share this really quick before we go into flow, the crocodile that I shared. So crocodile, I dreamed about it. Then it was on the TV show. Then I just poured a cup, not paying attention to what cup I poured.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, right? Alligator, crocodile. I'm getting goosebumps. So I feel the goosebumps are that physical sign that you're on that right track, or it's more like you said, implosion. I think it's described as having a shareable thought.
Yeah.
Right. Your DNA is like, yes. And so we're having this shareable thought that can then be expressed, and it can in turn ripple out into the frequency that we're connecting into together and sharing by being in this expression. So it's not just one thing, and it's not just one. Oh, and this kind of goes back to how we were talking earlier as the communication. Like it opens up how many different varieties that we can communicate in. Yes. So like you might be feeling it and you might be like, I feel inspired to go do some yoga or dance or whatever. Anyways, I kind of went off on a tangent there, so I'll bring it back in. But yeah, so do you want to start? But the thing of it is, so now we're in flow.
We're in flow, yeah.
Back and forth.
We're totally in flow, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we'll see these pictures, and then so part of it, I think also in this processing is about just trusting what's coming through and recognizing that the universal symbology and the universal language uses everything in order to communicate, including your body, sensations, right? Our environment. I might say a word and you might see a picture that has nothing to do with the word I said, but it's attached to a memory that you had that is now pinging into the vibration of the communication that we're looking to explain, express, create.
Yep. Yeah. And trust is everything in this process, right? Trusting, just letting go. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say, let it rip, rest in peace. Like just be in that, and all the pieces of information will then like ripping from it onto a CD. You know, when you have that stored information and you transfer it, it's like, all right, that's what it feels like, I think. And I know I speak in code, but it's just
picking it up.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't mean to, that was on court. I felt like it was maybe important for us to talk about that and how it occurs for us.
I think it is. I mean, I've had an influx, well, I've told you this, but an influx of people interested in learning how they can have direct access to their own intuition, and to that it's just such a collective thing coming down the pipeline. That's literally how I see it. It's like, this is dropping in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's here for the collective, and they're wanting it. Everybody's like, okay, how do I have direct connection to my truth. Period.
Yeah.
And so this is timely, definitely.
And
Yeah.
it's subtle too, right? Sometimes, like you were talking about that base of your spine, you know, paying attention to that is a symbol or a sign, or me paying attention, oh, wow, I've seen crocodile now 3 times, you know, so on and so forth. And that goes back to what you said of for you setting your intention.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like that focused intent. So now you've already said this is what I'm focusing on. For me, I'm saying, oh, I'm acknowledging the signs that are coming in, which then is me giving my attention with focused intention into that, saying, okay, I'm listening.
Yes. And from that, it's so funny. I see that right there, what you described. It's like, I call it the God particle, or like the spark in us gets excited and is like, oh, you're listening. Oh my God. And then it wants to give us more. And that's kind of like the back and forth that I experience is when I say, I see you, I acknowledge you, I'm listening, then it gives more, the more that I trust. It's just interesting.
Yes. Yes. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Whew. Lots of big energy today.
Yeah. And even when we say lots of big energy, you want to talk about the physical a little bit and then go into the flow from there, and we can put it all together, you think? I mean, we're still kind of, now I'm back in left brain analytical, but because you had gone through a lot of physical stuff, and when you say there's lots of big energy, I remember when I first was like, what is that?
What is big energy?
Yeah. Like, is that what I'm feeling?
Yeah. Well, so for me, what big energy means for me is a lot of times what it feels like is either I'm like high as a kite, like feeling like my feet aren't even on the ground for the day. Like I'm just flowing through life. Or sometimes big energy for me feels like massive triggers in my, like I want to crawl out of my skin, and there's nothing has happened. Like there's no, that's just, I want to, oh, that's how it feels for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
Yeah. I just want to crawl out of my skin.
Yeah. I feel like same way. Sometimes too we can get really tired because we've experienced a bunch of big energy, and it's time to it's like condense it and to dissolve it and to integrate it and all that. I tend to feel very spacey, very lightheaded. I get a lot of physical symptoms depending on what it is that I'm integrating, processing, downloading, whatever we want to call it. And I feel like too, it's not just any one particular thing. But yeah, sometimes I'll talk with someone, I'm like, big energy, I'm not really sure. But then they didn't sleep at all last night.
Right.
You know, or they feel really, they can't remember anything. That's always
or they
a good
sleep
one.
all the time, or they just want to sleep all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it feels like to me. Sometimes it feels like you said, you want to crawl out of your skin, itchy skin. I get really itchy. Electrical, for me, it's electricity. All 99% of the time it's electrical.
Do you find that your dreams change too with the energy, or no? You do? Yeah.
Yeah. Processing shadow is always fun.
You do it so well though.
Oh man. I don't know how graceful I do it, but thank you. Yeah, I do it well because I have my support group, my friends, and people who understand in their own way what it is, and I can share that with you guys and with certain close friends of mine and family too. It's like, if you know, otherwise I think like before I met you guys and before I met some of my closest friends that I have now, and before I think yeah, things have shifted, I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk about it with, so I really did think I was going crazy. Everybody else thought I was going crazy too.
Well, I know you're not alone, and I've heard that from many people that do that. Yeah,
that's why I kind of wanted to bring it up, because there might be somebody going, oh, that's why I've been feeling what I've been feeling. Yeah, totally. You're not alone.
Totally. Oh God, no. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we put all that together,
no,
I feel like it comes all back, like if we bring it back to the gratitude and the coherence, and it really is about finding that space where we connect the brain and the heart, and we're
Mm,
not just really overanalyzing or stuck completely in the emotions either,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm like the heart, the brain, and the middle, the midpoint is the throat, the communication, right?
Oh,
And then
yes.
I'm getting like the high heart tingles and then the throat. So like there's something there that I'm not quite getting all the way, but there's something important about what you just said, and then the communication as part of
Yeah.
it.
Okay, yeah. So I'll share a lot of the messages that I've been writing. And when I say messages, it's like universal thoughts that are coming through that I'm tapping into that we all have access to, right? I just access it in my own way. And so I'm beginning to learn more and more that and everything is all about um let me just see how I can put this into words because it's not just words. Again, I'm seeing pictures, I'm hearing words, I'm seeing things I can't necessarily describe. And it has to do with physics, it has to do with science, right? But it also has to do with divine creativity. And so,
Mm.
by the way, sometimes I get a little spun out on these energies too. I'm like, woo, squirrel, where was I? Let's rein it back in. But that's why it's really important to ground, right?
Yep.
But the communication. So, and I feel like we're delving into so many different aspects because we could talk about opening the throat, the heart, and connecting the brain. We
Mhm.
could talk about what that looks like for different people and different ways that we might have done it. We could talk about the physical sensations that you're getting, like you're saying you're getting it around the throat. That's a symbol for you that
Mhm.
maybe we need to delve more into that, or
Mhm.
that, it's like we could go into so many different layers, but I'll just say the communication, that's kind of the point. Like there is no one thing, one way, one language, one sound, one frequency. It's all experiential. And
Yeah.
so we're having an experience in a human body. And so we're going to be, what I'm sensing mostly lately is our extra sensory abilities are really coming online for a lot of us. And
Mm.
we're just remembering how to use those. So
Yes.
it feels weird at first, right? But then all of a sudden, when we just get a little bit more comfortable with them, or we feel a little bit more coherent,
Mm.
grateful, bliss, we're then able to um, communicate in a different way with our body, with
Yeah.
each other, right? And express what it is that we're experiencing in a different way.
Yeah. I keep hearing, or I keep seeing like a blueprint. Like we each have our own unique blueprint that is only expressed through really the voice, but it is our energy too. But there is something about our unique voice
Mm-hmm.
that is only ours. And I feel actually changes as we evolve and more layers of our trauma, if you will, or shadow kind of gets released. I do feel like our frequency and our vibration and our blueprint that's expressed through the voice changes as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Subtle, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I first started going through whatever it was I was going through, um, I was embarrassed to own.
Mm.
I think
Oh,
we've talked
wow.
about this. Yeah. I was like, first of all, I thought it was silly. I went through my yoga teacher training in 2011 and I was just like giggle, giggle. I've talked about this before, but it's really interesting because then once you start allowing it and feeling more comfortable and just trusting that, it's doing something,
Yep.
all of a sudden these sounds start coming through. So the reason I'm sharing that is sometimes it requires us actually being uncomfortable with our voice,
Yes. Yes. And
right?
doing it anyway. Yep.
Doing it anyway, taking a speech class, taking a singing class, um, making funny. I always recommend that people make goofy noises. If you feel guided to go outside and yell, as long as your neighbors, you're not in like a high rise or something, but I mean, even then, maybe go for it.
Yeah.
Warn all your neighbors. I'm going to be doing some yelling. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
But, and notice how, like you brought up just a really valid point energetically. Notice how the voice changes.
Totally.
Notice how it fluctuates. Notice how you feel when it changes as it fluctuates.
Yeah. Yeah. The more that I mean, when I first started, I would and I grew up in a religious home. So I grew up singing a lot, but in a group, right? But if it's just myself, I still have an issue. Like when Carrie does amazing light language, and I've been coming into my own recently, but I can do it great by myself. But the minute there's somebody there, I still get a little like, so there's layers to it.
Yeah.
At first just feeling my own vibration and frequency as I'm saying it, that was really edgy, actually. Just to sit in my own frequency in the shower, in the bath, or whatever I was doing. And then to have my partner there, I'm like, I still have a hard time. So there's layers.
Yeah. There definitely are layers. And it's that, right? It's I always call it the sound behind the sound.
Yeah.
Because it's like one day, and it's not every day. Like some days I do it and I'm not there. It just feels good to do it. And other days I'm there. And I don't know what there really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel a certain way. And it's like that deeper layer in a more expansive, for lack of better words, vibration, or frequency. Everything's vibration. So, but the bathtub and the shower are a great place to do it. And I always, in my car, like when I was driving, I would be guided to make certain noises driving through certain areas, which was really interesting. So, but that's a sidebar. But one of the things that I've also recognized is once you get into that, it's like almost like it opens up. If you ever look at a voice box or look at the anatomy of the vocal throat, it is connected to, it's like this channel that's like connected to everything, right? Root, all the way up. And essentially the chords that are inside of it. I mean, think about how often we use the word chords in music and heart chords and strings. And it's like, that's what we're doing is and I'm just in flow with the words, but we're plucking the strings, playing the chords, and this allows us to connect into the higher accordance, the accordion, the lungs, if you will, of, I mean, everything's connected. I just saw the whole body of the universe, but, and it is our own way of communicating. Sometimes though, it's not even, it's not necessarily that we have to sing, right? Oh, the light language. That's where I was going with that. Like not everybody has to speak light language.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's not a necessity. You can just make tones and make, ohms and things like that to help. It's like you're breaking the seal.
That's totally what I was seeing. Yeah.
And then once that opens, it's like a different key. Literally.
It is the key, right? It's the key that unlocks so many other dimensions.
Right. But other people do it in different ways too. For some people, and we could go into the third eye, the pineal, we could go into the inner ears. We could talk about the solar, everything's connected. But I guess today it's important to talk about the communication and also the heart and gratitude, because now we're coming back into gratitude, which is the theme, right? And being able to communicate our gratitude.
Yes. And how important that is in our development or our progression, if you want to call it that, is to express it, not just feel it, but to actually express it.
Well, and that expression can come from a look, a smile, touch, all of our other senses. It doesn't just have to come from words.
True.
You don't have to say anything really, but I think what we're kind of touching on is how much of a tool, a valuable tool it is, because that what I'm hearing is the vocal analysis. It's like it allows us to analyze from a different frequency, sound harmonics, essentially then connecting us to soundology, which is like a sine wave technology that is our own inner technology that is coming through from source that we are then connecting into, in tune, to tune into. And we're essentially, that's our main source of communication, is our sound and our voice. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
the flow.
The flow.
The flow is real.
It is real. Right?
Oh, I love that. What else are you feeling? I'm just kind of tapping back in to see what else is wanting to come through.
Well, I think just so many branches of what we're discussing with the communication and gratitude, and trust.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's kind of the theme right now. And for me, the theme is like open to all forms of communication. And for me, that means synchronicity, sound, picture, touch.
Telepathy is another one coming on too.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty strongly, at least in my world, but you know.
I'm sure there's going to be people that are curious about that. Do you want to go into that a little bit more?
Sure.
I mean, we won't have to do the whole video, but
I know it's
touching my salt lamp right now.
Woo!
Get a little grounded.
It's not something that I was intentionally intending to do. But it just starts happening. Just like some of these intuitive abilities started coming online. That one over the last year has been just happening. And what that looks like for me is being able to communicate with a person who's not even present in my physical space through our minds. And sometimes, message, and actually not just like a physical human like Carrie and I, but it would be like my higher self or guides, or, you want to call it, they just drop in a message telepathically, and it comes in a little package.
Like Harry Potter and the owls.
It's crazy. And then all of a sudden and then I guess that's what some people call downloads, but to me, it's a telepathic communication. And at times it has come in as an actual voice that is communicating to me. But a lot of times, like I've had it with, family members, my partner, and sometimes it doesn't happen on purpose. It's just, all of a sudden you're connected to that, and it's undeniable. So I might need to look at boundaries for myself.
That's a whole other video.
I know.
That's right? Because we could go into so many different places with that. But once you open to this stuff, you do have to set boundaries for sure. And that's the going back to coherence. Because then one might argue, well, we're all one, right? So we're all tapping to the same thing. But again, it's our experience as a human. Not everybody wants to have the same experience.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to tune into everybody's experience from one perspective. I mean, we could go into so many different layers there. And really, that's just an added bonus. It's not about the telepathy. It's not about the clairvoyance. It's not about the clairaudience. Even though it feels like if I were only this, or if I could only see that, then this would be better. And in reality, none of that matters if you're not in your heart.
100%.
So that brings it back to, back full circle.
Gratitude. Yeah.
Gratitude. Right. Yeah. And, it's not like we're always going to feel that way if somebody pulls out in front of us and causes a car accident. At the time, we're going to be like, I'm so grateful that person just ran me off the road. But finding an ability to say, okay, this experience, I'm grateful that I wasn't hurt, or I'm grateful nobody was hurt, or, finding some little piece in that to help not drop us into this deep state but that's a whole other ball of wax too, because it's okay to be in those deep states sometimes.
Totally.
I mean, that's part of the experience too, because sometimes we can't find that place of gratitude coming from the vibration that we're in. And that means we might be in deep shadow work processing all of this, and gratitude's so far away from us that we don't even know how to get there.
Yep. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Letting that be okay.
Because that can shift in a day sometimes for somebody, 24 hours,
Yep.
right? They might go, wow, I don't even know why I was feeling that way, but today I feel a little bit better. And that's, that when then we can start practicing from there. So it's always kind of meeting ourselves where we're at from one perspective, because if we're forcing ourselves to feel something that we're not feeling, then I guess that would be spiritual bypassing a little bit, right? From one
I think
perspective.
so. Yeah.
I mean, that's not the only definition for that, but then we're bypassing and saying, nope, I feel great.
Yeah.
I'm going to be grateful, when in reality there's this big elephant in the room and we're like ignoring it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, speaking of the energies right now, I've noticed I'm able to shift out of that space faster than I used to be. If I got triggered, it would take like a week or something, sometimes to pull out of it. And
Yeah.
even just yesterday, I got triggered over something, and normally it would have tanked me for a day. And I was able to shift out of it in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And not because I did anything different, though. It was just like something is shifted within me to a place where it's almost like I've practiced enough that I know what's happening and I can release it faster.
Yeah.
I don't know, without bypassing it. So I acknowledge it, I do the thing, and then it shifts.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way for the most part. Even
Mhm.
if I'm in it, I call it being in it. We've talked about this, like we're in it.
Yeah.
It definitely, it's more, I feel like oftentimes for a lot of us, not everybody, but I think the key is that we've done the work.
Yeah.
Like, not to say there's some people that don't need to do the work. They just, and you're like, how is it that person, I've done all this work,
I know.
and that person's over there just eating their big fat ice cream sundae,
I
not caring
totally.
about what they eat. The world's falling down around them, and they're just like, look at the clouds. And that's how they've always, that's just their journey.
I know. I had some jealousy last week come up about that. Like, wow, I am feeling jealous right now. I haven't felt jealous in a long time, but like really wanting my life back.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of had the messages from my higher self from one perspective. Let me rephrase that a little bit. I acknowledged and recognized within myself the shift from seeing things from just a different perspective. So I kind of asked myself, like, why am I going through this again? Or why am I back in this place that I thought I had already climbed out of from one perspective? And it was like, well, there was some stuff at the bottom that was that were real nuggets that you missed the first time around. Totally. So now you're back and you're able to kind of collect that stuff, because I chose to go back and collect that stuff, because then it made my experience more complete or fuller. I don't know if that's really even a word, fuller. I've been making up so many random words that I'm not really sure anymore, but yeah, it just made it more, it became more nutritious.
I love that. Easily digestible.
Yeah, there was more digestives that I had there to digest.
Yeah.
But it was a little frustrating until, again, I went back into that place of somewhat coherence and found myself in a space where I could then kind of look at everything from a more neutral observer and be less angry, which is being pulled into the emotion of it. I felt anger. I felt, frustration, but then I wasn't, like you said, it didn't take me as long to digest that.
Right.
Integrate it or move through it.
Yeah.
Instead of skip it and be like, okay, I'm not even going to deal with that. Although sometimes we do need to do that, for our own sanity. We have to skip it and then come back to it later.
Yeah, that's like the reality of this 3D world. Yeah, we can't fall apart all the time, even if we want to.
Right. Yeah. Some of us have things we have to do.
Right.
some people have kids and families and jobs, and it's again bringing it back into balance, and it is about consistency. So it is about finding a consistent practice.
Yes.
Like I'm always really like, you're like, I'm going to yoga, and I'm like, oh, I should be doing because it's so valuable.
Yeah, committing like you always hear about gratitude practices. Like I'm going to do like a gratitude challenge or whatever, and everyone's on that train this month. That's great. But it's just to do it more often than just Thanksgiving. It's so important.
Yeah, I've been actually really light sensitive lately too.
Oh, is your head okay? Are you feeling?
Yeah, light sensitive, sound sensitive. That's something else to kind of recognize. That's something that is, I think, normal.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When that happens for me, I feel like that's when I'm processing something. When it's almost like no more stimuli can come in because I'm already saturated. So
I
yeah.
love the fact that you're bringing that up.
Oh yeah.
I think that's important because sometimes we're on that track of like more, more, more.
Yeah.
And your body's like, no.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could
Flow.
talk. What's that?
What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, you and I have talked a little bit about what our bodies have been going through, but if there's anything specific for you that's come up, or I can share my story too around my back. I mean, we've just both been going through a lot of what I normally would have called like a crisis is now I'm really bringing gratitude to it and seeing how my body is my ally and it's helping me to move into this next stage. That's how it feels. My body is actually helping me move into this next stage.
Yeah.
But it feels, my ego thinks it's falling apart and everything's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you should continue and talk about that because I went through what you're experiencing, I've gone through too.
Oh yeah.
So we have very similar stories when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so my back, I've had low back issues, and recently, well, I'd say the last few months, I've had to do some really intense, like craniosacral and chiropractic work on it.
Yeah.
But just that, it has led me to gut issues. And so it's kind of like, again, it's the mapping that Carrie was talking about earlier. It's like, I feel like my body is becoming so in tune with these energies that it's literally speaking to me in really loud ways now. And it's like, here's your message. And if you follow this, then I will lead you to the root cause, which is actually your gut, which is actually gluten, which is actually it's like a whole nother can of worms, like Carrie would say. Like that opens up into like a whole lifestyle shift. Anyway.
Totally.
Our bodies are starting to come online because more of us is dropping in to take the wheel, and it's a whole nother surrender, but it feels like a dark night of the souls. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot. I mean, that this whole last year has been about health for most people, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's something else. And I find that interesting. It's either somebody has been sick with the virus or they're actually going through something else that's equally challenging with their body. So our bodies are upgrading in one way or another. So holding space for that, I think.
Yeah, I went through the same thing. And I think this comes back to doing the work. Like, it's not, you didn't ignore it. You did the cranial sacral. You went to get, what did you call it? The GI mapping.
Oh, I did a GI map and I just went food sensitivity.
Yeah. So that requires sometimes us doing a little footwork or leg work to find out what the root of it is. And that's part of the journey and experience from my perspective as well, because I had very similar situation. And I'm kind of going through it again right now. Like I'm starting to sense, okay, I got to get back on track. But now I know what those signs are. When I went through it the first time, I didn't know what that looked like until I was full blown in it. And then I was like, how did this happen?
Oh, wow. Was this like 4 years ago?
Yeah. So Kundalini, the back, stomach, very similar. I mean, very similar. You're already like online with everything. I was kind of at that where I abruptly, I think I had kind of a spontaneous Kundalini, and I think I did some spontaneous astral projecting. I was like, what happened? And my body was like, wow.
Oh my God.
So, and then I kind of slowed it down after that intentionally because I'm like, full throttle Betty, like, let's do this. Let's bring it on. Let's just make it happen. And then I made it happen. And my body, like you said, it feels like you're falling apart, but the body's telling you what it needs in order to. So part of that for me was the learning. Like I did a lot of research on how to do heavy metal detox, and I learned a lot from what I should be eating and shouldn't be eating based on how my body felt. I went and did a bunch of tests, none of the GI tract tests, which I think would have been good. I think maybe everybody should do that to find out what you're allergic to and all of that. But I was more on the route of thinking something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
So I went and had a CAT scan and an MRI, and I saw a neurologist. And then finally, when everything was said and done, and blood work and everything came back normal. And at that point, I recognize, and then they're like, well, maybe you're just stressed out.
Of course, right?
And I'm like, well, I just had this huge pop in my pineal gland the other day.
Oh
and then
my
I
God.
started seeing all kinds of things, and they're like, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of what happens is you open to this other multidimensional variety of us. And that looks different. So anyways, I kind of went off on another tangent, but so the physical body is our map, right? It's kind of helping guide us on how fast to go, how slow to go, what to eat, what not to eat. If you're tired, sleep. If you're, and obviously if you're at work, you can't necessarily, or you're operating heavy machinery,
sleep. Yep.
set your intention, say, okay, I'm going to take this weekend to, which is hard to do sometimes if we have other obligations or families and whatnot, but maybe just pencil in an extra hour or even a half hour, whatever we can do to support the body, because the body is really supporting us.
Yeah. Yeah.
As best as it can. Whew.
Yeah.
So taking all that into account, did you want to go into a little flow?
Sure. Well, yeah.
Well, we're already in flow,
but do you want to kind of go back and forth a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
I'm open. Yeah, I'm open. And I don't know it's been about an hour. Do you want to keep going?
I can, as soon as I hear my door open.
Okay.
Who knows what's going to come out from behind the door. And door number one. When I hear that, I'll know it's time to wrap things up. So, but it's up to you. You can kind of I've got another 10 minutes, if that gives.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do a little spontaneous flow.
Combustion.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I love it.
I'll let you start. So I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like I have to explain myself, but I yawn a lot, you guys. So whatever that's about, but yeah.
Oh, I love the fact that you're sharing that too, Jess, because that's something else that can happen. Yeah. Yawns, burps, twitches,
and I sway. Yeah. Totally.
So you're not crazy. I mean, some people might consider that crazy, but we consider that very normal.
Right. So funny. Okay. So yeah, I'll just set our intention to connect to our highest timeline and highest vision in our highest aspects. Is there anything that needs to be shared about gratitude or anything else that might benefit those that are connecting with us today? So I'm getting, well, mudra, interesting, but also the word connection is coming through. The symbol, the mudra that is this. I don't actually know what this is. Is that yours?
No, but I love that. This is where I'm at right now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this, and then connection, and then I was shown, Thanksgiving, because that's coming up, but also being shown, let me see if I can get more. It's so funny, Carrie. This is what's coming in. And I don't know if it's because we're on here together, but what I'm seeing is that, remember when we would talk about the buffet table?
Yes.
So I'm seeing this cornucopia, and
Oh boy.
I know I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. So I'm seeing the cornucopia, and then I'm seeing this whole table full of options for food. And then they're referencing it back to our conversation around the body. And let me see if there's more. What is more about connection? The words that I'm hearing are connection isn't what it used to be. So there's something around breaking tradition that's like really big in the collective right now that I suppose needs to be acknowledged. Breaking tradition and finding new direction are the words that I'm hearing. But I'll let you go ahead. Whatever you want to speak to there.
Well, got a lot of light language that came through. Got some like weird words like in flow. So I'll start with the weird words in flow because that helps me just kind of, well, actually I could do the light language too. I don't know where to go with this. So
Whatever you
it's
want.
such a cornucopia.
I know, right?
It's such a buffet. So actually I'll kind of go into a little linear left brain action and then go into the flow about it. So as you're saying cornucopia, it means something different for me, but it also means the same. So when you say cornucopia, it reminds me of the synchronicities I've had with the trumpet, the horn, as well as the shoe horn, as well as the inner ears. Ooh. So listening and the cochlea. Is that how you pronounce it? Cornucopia? I'm hearing cochlea.
My God.
So, and that's a whole other flow, but I'll just kind of dip into that. Then the other thing to share about that is what you're speaking about with I'm hearing familiarization, family linearization. So I'm trying not to go into crazy word flow. I'm just, ooh, my heart. Because what happens is we have this concept of what it needs to look like in this family tradition. And ooh, this has to do with the crocodile and the alligator, which is family traditions, which is ancestor transitions. Now I'm in flow. Okay, I can't slow it down. Okay, I'll go in a little light language and then I'll just flow into the words in English. Based off of what you're seeing, which is awesome because it just takes me into so many spins. Oh, now I'm going into just English. So as we go into these spins, as we move out of old traditions and we move into the newer way to traditionally recognize traditions, we sink into this open expandability, this cornucopia. I'm seeing this bandwidth of this horn. Okay, so this has something to do with physics, by the way. This has something to do with where we are in, I think, having to do with 11-11 moving into 12-12. Like there's a lineup here, and it has something to do with a spin, literally in physics. I'm seeing a record, and that old record with the horn that comes out of the top. There's a name for it, with the dog on it.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe it has something to do with Sirius. Anyways, so that is one aspect. So we'll go back to the other aspects, though, of the family traditions. So we're seeking to line up with these higher trajectories of how we communicate with our blood brothers and sisters. But our unifications and how we used to link up is not necessarily in the same alignment as we used to. I'm hearing it's like not contained within the same container anymore. So if I were to break that down, it's like we're in a different holding space. And so we're holding space for each other in a different way. So it isn't necessarily about, it's not about, it's like Christmas and gifts. It's like not about the same things. It's what does all of this represent to us? It's being together. It's being in gratitude. It's recognizing the individuality and beauty in one another and the ability to be together. And it doesn't necessarily mean we have to be together. You said something important about, and I lost the words, but it triggered within me. A lot of us are talking on Zoom. It's energetically. It doesn't have to be in person. Although, because of the space that we're holding now, how we interact with each other in person is also shifting. So what I'm kind of seeing is we might have expectations of how things might go. The old, I'm hearing the old adages, the old idea of, oh, I have to deal with this person or that person's going to be there, but we don't want to see them. We don't want to, we have to do this or we have to do that. And what I'm being shown is a drawing board and just erasing all of that. Because everybody's in a different space. Nobody's in the same place they were a year ago. So letting go of the expectations of assuming how things are going to go or how things need to happen. And that allows ourselves to be in more flow. It allows us to be more able to receive, back to what we're talking about, the bounty, the gifts and bountiful recognition of this communication with one another. But there's so much more. But I'm going to stop there and let you kind of rip off that.
Mic drop. I'm good. No. I'm just holding. Woo. That's so. I mean, I just kept seeing so like through the telepathy, but through the heart. It was interesting. Like we think of telepathy through here, but I just kept seeing members of the family sitting together, but connecting through the heart instead of here. And this, yeah. And I even got animals and like the earth kind of came in as you were talking, like there's something about the family unit that is shifting, and then the clean slate, like that's something is happening. It's ending. Tradition as we used to, yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was seeing a picture, and I know this is tying it in with Christmas, and this isn't a religious thing. I was shown, okay, so I could share so many things, but I was shown, as you were talking about the family, I saw the picture of the Last Supper. And then I was shown, so I know there's somebody that I follow on Instagram who did some kind of rendition about Leonardo da Vinci, is that who did the Last Supper? And the geometric alignment of how that's drawn out and the mathematical composition. And as soon as you said the heart coherency, I was seeing each person sitting within a bubble, that we're all connected into these bubbles. And so when we're in each other's spaces, if we're back in that coherence, we're creating that geometric ping off of one another. And then we're able to fully come into a higher space of compassion, which allows us to then hold. I'm hearing the head of the table.
Okay. That's huge. Well, since you said that, I'm just gonna share something personal that's really, I think there's something here. So last night, I had Thanksgiving with my family last night, early because of family stuff. And my partner said, why don't you sit at the head of the table?
Okay, so, this is what I'm this is perfect example. Keep going.
Yeah. And I have to say, as a woman, that was really hard. I don't like to admit that, but that was really hard. And I took my seat at the head of the table. And even now I'm feeling just that, for everyone taking their own seat at the head of the table of their life changes literally the dynamics of the entire family. But the entire family. And then it's like I'm just saying, like a ripple effect that then ripples out past just our family. So obviously this is like symbolic of how you can take your own seat at the head of the table, but everything that brings up is powerful.
And you brought up so much just in that like description, because it's like, what do we believe about the role that we have played as a woman, as a man, as a mother, as a father, as a sibling, what role we play in that family dynamic. Maybe we aren't used to speaking up. Maybe we are used to talking too much. Maybe we're like me. Maybe we're, depending on our role, it's like, even though you're sitting at the head of the table, it isn't necessarily about dictating, it's also about
Yeah,
holding space, right? So everybody has fulfilled different roles, and everybody is still fulfilling different roles at the head of the table. Everybody's at the head of the table.
exactly.
So us stepping up and taking that full sovereignty, I guess, and not and that comes back to coherence. So we're in that space of coherence. We start to stay in that flow, and we recognize when somebody needs to speak, or when we need to speak, or when, I'm just seeing so much there. Now back to the geometries. I see it as a mathematical composition, and essentially I see it as sound, because when we are sound in, we are light and sound in form. So when we hold that vibration through our coherence, implosion, frequency, whatever we want to call it, like you said, that has a ripple effect, and it goes out into, not, I'm hearing, across the table.
Mm.
So the table is, I'm thinking of times tables, it multiplies. It's a multiplication factor that then allows us to create from that table.
It's like it's like a platform, like a
Yeah,
like
like
a
foundation, table.
foundation.
And I'm also being guided to ask ourselves, what does the table represent when we're at a family dinner?
Interesting. Ooh.
It's a lot. I mean, think of, if we start to think of this as a multidimensional experience, it doesn't just become about what we're eating and what we're talking about. It has to do with the sound behind the sound. Where did the food come from? Are we blessing it before we eat it? How do
Mhm.
we feel? Have we complimented everybody about their cooking? Are we grateful that we have food on the table?
Yeah.
Even if it's not what we expected, can we let go of the expectations of what this preparation should look like? Maybe we're not having Thanksgiving dinner at all. Can we feel grateful about what we are having on this day? Not just this day, but every day. Oh my goodness.
I see the table as you said that, what came in was what still stands between you and them. Like, what is it still that's blocking full unconditional love for that person? Just full unconditional love. So
Yeah.
recognizing what's in between you. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
we could go to so many different places, because you brought up the value of the family dynamic. It's like that's changing,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And part of it is us recognizing that it isn't, even though we're all fulfilling different roles, I don't have to stay in the role of wife,
Mhm.
woman, female. That's an energy from one perspective.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for me? For me, that means compassion, nourishment, nourishing, strength, individuality. But also, if you take all those things, sensuality,
Mhm.
finding our divine feminine, balancing it out with, but if you take that and you put it into the male aspect, those are all equally important for the male role as well.
Exactly.
So, and the father and the mother, and all of these different, it's like these different dichotomies of relationships and what they represent. When we boil it all down, essentially, and I'm hearing, trim off all the fat, right? We get, I think I wrote this before. It's called, what do you do when you clarify butter? You get that.
Uh-huh.
And then essentially we're all part, I mean, it's, oh my gosh, you could go to so many spaces with that. So fun.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Um, should I do a little light language?
Go
I've
for it.
got
Yeah,
some coming through.
do it. Love it.
Okay, I'll just do a little bit, and then maybe go back into just where that leads us.
Mhm.
Oh, the funny thing is, I've got it coming in. By the way, this is that sound behind the sound, but then it goes right into English, so maybe it's not relevant for this message. As we hone into these different family dynamics, as we allow ourselves to create from this new space of freedom, being free to express from our own human potential, we then recognize that within each of our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, lies a piece of us. For we are connected in all that we are from, that we are going towards, we are working within, that we are creating as, that we are connecting with in this spin. Again, this comes back to that cornucopia, the buffet.
Yes.
And as we allow this to unfold, as we allow ourselves to, I'm just seeing people sharing stories, and then we can feel into their sound behind the sound. What are they really sharing? What are they really expressing? And by us holding space for them to be as free as they wish to be, we find a place of compassion and the ability to respect one another, to see each other from a whole new view, to see each other from a whole new perspective, and respectively glean information from each other and to share a gleaming view of light in a new academic presentation of respectivity. Plays on words. So these are all like different spins on the words. By the way, this is like other stuff too, but I'm trying to tie this in with the family dynamic and just, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I keep seeing the infinity symbol. What is that? Does that
I
have,
love that.
I don't, yeah, and my body just keeps moving in it as, yeah, and just, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that ties in, but has something to do with like something about freedom. Like when you said freedom, like everybody wants to be free. It's true. Like if being able to help somebody express their truth is a way of helping them set themselves free. And then it, on some level, you know, we're giving permission for us to also be able to express our truth. So yeah,
I love that.
full circle.
Full circle or full figure eight.
Right.
Which
yeah.
if you pull it apart, right, it's technically, you can spin it and pull it. It's a circle, just interlocked on top of each other. It's that twist.
Yeah.
So we're all, for me, when you say that, I see that we're all on different sides of the coin, or on different sides of the eight, but it's all, it's like that, or what is it, an aurora boreas, or
yeah, I don't know
those words up, but yeah, it's like we are then still on the same coin. We're still on the same figure eight, but we're just in maybe different vibrations. We have different experiences to offer. I feel like there's more though than that you were tapping into in the beginning
with the figure eight.
Not just, I think it's kind of tying back into what you were saying with changing how we
show up, like with dynamics and tradition
interact.
Yeah. Yeah, there is more. I'm having a hard time putting it into language though. Like I just feel that there's some collective shift happening, and it's not like a coincidence that it's around holiday and how we communicate, I just have a feeling a lot of people are going to notice and have opportunities in the next month and a half in holiday to notice how much their voices change, notice how much they're able to be more in their sovereignty, notice how much the person that they've maybe not been talking to in the family has now shown up differently, and it's going to be like a surprise. I feel like people are going to be surprised somehow that things are going to be different.
I'm hearing a song playing in my head like loud. Can we give love, give love, give love? Oh, give love one more chance. It's I'm hearing Queen and Bowie. What is that? Under Pressure.
Oh, Under Pressure.
But it's not that part of the song. I'm hearing like the end of it, like the chorus. I think it's Under Pressure. But having said that, it's like I feel like there's so many, whoa. So when I say Queen, right, I'm thinking the head of the table.
Yep.
When I say Bowie, I'm thinking of Cupid, Draw Back Your Bow, because I was writing about this the other day. Also, I was singing Bowie the other morning when I woke up, which was the alligator song. But anyways, back to crocodile and traditions. I think what you're seeing is, I feel like that's so awesome, because I think I've been seeing it in general with other people. Like, I feel like things have shifted from one perspective. I mean, we're still going to have those experiences that are like, oh boy, that person really, hasn't changed at all. or maybe my view of them hasn't changed, whatever, because sometimes, or maybe they're triggering me because that's something I need to work on. We could go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
But if we're looking at this from a higher perspective and just a more expansive perspective, when you say a figure eight, I see us being in the center of the figure eight. So we're the figurehead.
Ooh.
I mean, as responsible, sovereign bringers of the way of being in that space of coherence, that puts you in the center. And then that creates that spin of that infinite symbol. And it's almost like when we're in that space, it has that ripple effect. And that's where heart math talks about coherence. It's contagious. It's like that person may show up feeling stressed and having anxiety, but when we get into the center of the figure eight and we hold that space, that gives them the opportunity, should they choose to take it, they have freedom of choice, they don't have to feel into our spin. And we're not pushing it on them, bringing it back to boundaries. We're just being us.
Yes.
It's that we're communicating with the sound behind the sound. They may not understand what it is that we're saying, and we may just be saying, hi, how are you? But we're saying it from the heart.
Right.
And they're feeling what we're putting down, literally.
Totally.
And that in itself can create a space where they can just maybe relax. Or it could trigger them and they might just get more deeper into it, but that's irrelevant. What's more important is how we come to sit at the head of the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm seeing like tuning forks. So I saw the figure eight, and on each side of the figure eight was these tuning forks, the resonance. So one tuning fork is going off and this one's like starts vibrating,
Exactly.
I just, helping each other without words, communicating through that.
Yeah. And that comes back to all, again, why it's so important to practice this, to do it consistently, to acknowledge when we're not in it, recognize it, do the work, and then bring that with us when we're interacting with our fellow family members. And when I say family, the word human is what comes up, right? This is not just about our
blood family.
Yeah. We all have DNA that is holographic from one perspective. Whew. Yep. I feel like I might have to end on that note. Yeah. I'm hearing my dog's tail thumping out there.
Cute. Hobie.
Speaking of heart coherence.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This was awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
This was fun.
I know. We will be doing this more often.
Yes, we will.
Now that we're able to stabilize just a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, for not planning anything, this was fun. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually, I think, what works out the best, especially lately, and that's something valuable to speak about too. I feel like part of this is just that's being in flow.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just comes in.
I agree. Yeah.
But so should I just wait and then you can sign off? I don't know how that works.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to say, let's say our goodbye, and then I'm going to end. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys, for watching.
Yeah, thank you so
and
much.
Sharing in this space with us. And happy Gratitude Day. Happy being in gratitude every day. But, oh, by the way, really quick, I want to share too on a sidebar. It also, when we're together, if we are able to meditate, pray together and have that ripple effect, right? When two or more gather, like we can come into that higher space, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I think that's important just to say really quick too, right?
Oh, no, that's perfect, Carrie. That was perfect. Because the image that I got earlier with this symbol was two or more.
Yeah.
Two or more.
Well, that's the 8, even though it's 8, but it's 2, it's kind of that 2. Yeah, I love that. So just setting that intention, like you said in the beginning, having that focus of maybe speaking about what everybody's grateful for and really coming into the heart and, maybe doing something very simple to get everybody to kind of get out of their logical left brain, get into the space, or connect the two. Doesn't have to be getting out of it, but connecting the two. And then that, you know, our bubbles go out, what, like 15 feet? I
Yeah,
think maybe
please.
even as much as 30
I think
when
so.
we're in that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew. So
It's powerful.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you guys soon.
To be
Thanks so much.
continued.
Yep. Bye.